Aniah Blanchard and her brother Elijah set off to visit their mother in northern Alabama. That evening, on their way home, Aniah first dropped Elijah off before making a quick stop at a gas station, which was only minutes away from her home. Around this time, she was texting her roommate Sarah, mentioning she was with a guy not far from their apartment. But Aniah never made it home that night. She vanished without a trace. Nearly a month later, the search ended in tragedy when her remains were discovered deep in the remote woods of Macon County. The autopsy confirmed the worst. Aniah had been murdered. But who could have committed such a heinous act? Let's delve into this chilling case. Aniah Haley Blanchard was born on June 22, 2000, to her parents Elijah Blanchard Sr. and Angela Harris. June 22 also happened to be her mother's birthday. Aniah was born roughly 1.5 years after her brother Elijah Jr. was born. Aniah's family was a blend of diverse talents and professions. Her mother Angela dedicated herself to caring for others as a nurse in their community, while her father Elijah served both as a pastor and a businessman. Elijah and Angela's marriage unfortunately didn't work out, and the two ended up getting divorced when their children were still young. Despite her parents divorcing, Aniah's upbringing was filled with love and care as her parents put their differences aside in order to raise their children in loving environments. After the divorce, Elijah Sr. found love again with a woman named Yeshiva and married her, while Angela found happiness in her marriage to Walt Harris, a professional UFC fighter. Despite the changes in their family, Aniah remained a beacon of positivity and happiness. With her infectious laughter and bright smile, Aniah was a ray of sunshine wherever she went. She had a deep love for softball, pouring her heart and soul into the sport. In high school, she not only played on the softball team, but also led them as team captain. Aniah developed a close relationship with her brother Elijah Jr. The two were inseparable. Their connection was evident in the way they supported and relied on each other through life's ups and downs. Leaving her hometown behind, Aniah embarked on a new chapter of her life as she ventured to Southern Union State Community College in Auburn. With dreams of becoming a teacher and a softball coach, she eagerly embraced the opportunities that college offered. Settling into her new home, she shared an apartment with her dog Blue and her roommate Sarah. Despite the distance separating her from her family in Homewood, Alabama, Aniah remained connected to them. She kept in touch with her father Elijah and stepfather Walt, exchanging messages with them regularly. Her bond with her mother Angela was particularly strong, evident in their daily FaceTime calls that began each morning. Angela cherished Aniah as more than just a daughter. She considered her a best friend, a confidant with whom she shared her deepest thoughts and feelings. In Aniah, Angela found not only a daughter, but also a best friend, someone she could trust implicitly. Aniah's brother Elijah Jr. also lived in Auburn, so she at least had one member of her family close by. On October 23, 2019, Aniah and her brother Elijah set off on the familiar journey to visit their mother Angela in northern Alabama and spent the day with her. During the evening, Aniah glanced at the time and realized it was getting late. With work commitments looming the next day, she knew they needed to make their way back to Auburn. Reluctantly bidding farewell to their mother, Aniah and Elijah embarked on the journey back to Auburn. Along the way, they made a brief stop to visit their stepfather before continuing their homeward journey. Around 11 p.m., Aniah dropped Elijah off at his apartment in Auburn, which was about 10 minutes away from her apartment. At 11:09 p.m., her roommate Sarah sent her a text, inquiring about her whereabouts. Aniah reassured her that she was close to home, alleviating any concerns Sarah may have had. However, as the minutes ticked by and Aniah failed to return, Sarah grew uneasy. Half an hour passed and Aniah had yet to arrive. Concerned for her friend's safety, Sarah texted Aniah again, this time asking if she had gone out without her. Aniah immediately responded with a text that said, "I'm smoking a blunt LOL." Sarah found this response to be extremely odd. Besides being roommates, Sarah and Aniah were also best friends, so Sarah knew that smoking a blunt wasn't something Aniah would normally say. So Sarah asked her who she was with, and Aniah told her that she was with a guy named Eric and that she had just met him. At this point, it was roughly 11:43 p.m., and Sarah texted Aniah, "Where are you at with this Eric guy?" But Aniah didn't respond. Sarah's heart raced as she frantically checked Aniah's location on her phone. It was a habit they had formed out of concern for each other's safety. Aniah always had a deep fear of being kidnapped or murdered, and Sarah was well aware of her fear, which is why she always makes sure to check on Aniah's location when she goes out. So when Sarah checked Aniah's location, it showed that she was at another nearby apartment complex, where many students lived and often hung out. Sarah then assumed Aniah was safe, so she ended up going to sleep. The next morning, Sarah woke up and went straight to Aniah's bedroom, but she wasn't there. So Sarah attempted to check her location, but her location didn't show up. Sarah realized that Aniah was supposed to babysit for a woman named Karina that morning, so she called Karina, who then told her that Aniah had not shown up to babysit. This was completely out of character for Aniah, who was always extremely reliable and always honored her commitments, especially when it comes to babysitting. Sarah grew extremely concerned, so she contacted Aniah's brother Elijah and asked him to help her look for Aniah. Elijah then called their mother Angela and informed her of Aniah's disappearance. Angela and Walt immediately got into their car and headed to Auburn. Once they arrived in Auburn, the family all agreed that Aniah would never stay out all night and be unreachable. They knew Aniah's habits and her character, but this silence, this unreachability, it was not like her. So they contacted the police and reported her as a missing person. Frantic and desperate for any lead, Angela and Walt took to every available platform, pleading with the public for help in finding Aniah.
Walt Harris, Angela Harris here. If you have any leads on where our daughter is, Aniah Blanchard, please go to the authorities. Tell someone she was last seen in a black Honda CR-V 2017. Tag is B2-356. BS356, I'm sorry. She was possibly last seen downtown at downtown Auburn, Southeastern, and Skybar. If you have any information, please come forward.
Despite the exhaustive search efforts of multiple law enforcement agencies, family, friends, and even concerned citizens, there was no sign of Aniah. The search efforts spanned far and wide, with teams searching every possible location, holding on to the hope of finding any clue that might lead to Aniah's whereabouts. Then 2 days later, on October 25th, at around 6:15 p.m., Aniah's car was found. It was found in Montgomery, Alabama, which is over 50 miles away from where Aniah was last seen, and she was not in the car. The vehicle bore signs of damage, indicating it had been through a tumultuous ordeal. Even more concerning were the indications within the car, suggesting that whoever had been inside might have sustained life-threatening injuries. 3 days later, on October 28th, police released surveillance footage that showed Aniah inside a gas station shop on October 23rd, which is the night she went missing. Aniah can be seen walking into the shop at 11:21 p.m., which was only a few minutes after she replied to her roommate Sarah's text message informing her that she would be home in a few minutes. Her reason for stopping at the gas station was to buy some snacks before going home. The gas station was just 2 minutes from her apartment. On October 31st, law enforcement shared with the public that they believed that Aniah's disappearance was not a mere vanishing act, but a sinister event orchestrated by foul play. As news of Aniah's disappearance spread, a wave of fear swept through the community. The unsettling realization that someone so young had vanished without a trace shattered the community's sense of security, leaving everyone in a state of shock and unease. November 6th marked a turning point in the search for Aniah. Authorities released surveillance footage images of a person of interest, captured moments before Aniah's disappearance. Surveillance footage showed that he was in the store at the same time as Aniah and was seen buying alcohol and looking in Aniah's direction. This individual was spotted by a witness who claimed to have seen the man forcefully leading Aniah into her car before driving away together. The witness had allegedly walked back to his hotel room and told his wife what he had seen, but she instructed him to stay out of it. The witness cried during questioning and told investigators that he felt guilty that he had not said something sooner. On November 7th, The veil of anonymity surrounding the person of interest in the surveillance footage was lifted. The individual was identified as 29-year-old Ibrahim Yazid. With his name now known, the U.S. Marshals launched a relentless pursuit to track down this suspect. Over the years, Ibrahim has been charged with various crimes, including felony drug possession and aggravated battery, but shockingly, a grand jury never indicted him. However, the most alarming incident unfolded in January 2019 when Ibrahim found himself entangled in a case involving attempted murder and kidnapping. According to court records, Ibrahim and 2 accomplices held 2 male victims against their will in a hotel room. One of the victims was a 77-year-old elderly man. The elderly man was brutally attacked and beaten until he was unconscious, unresponsive, severely injured, and near death. He was robbed of his wallet, a Rolex, handguns, and other possessions. The other man was also beaten and robbed of at least $40. Despite the serious nature of the crime and the fact that he already had a lengthy criminal history, Ibrahim was released on bond, and he was still out on bond when he was named as the suspect in Aniah's disappearance. In the early hours of November 8th, the long arm of the law finally caught up with Ibrahim Yazid in Escambia County, Florida. U.S. Marshals tracked him down and apprehended him after a brief chase. Charged with first-degree kidnapping, Ibrahim found himself in custody, initially held as a fugitive in Florida. On November 12th, Ibrahim had his first appearance in court, where the decision to revoke his previous bond was made, ensuring he remained in custody. Due to the discovery of male DNA in Aniah's vehicle, a judge issued a directive requiring Ibrahim to provide his DNA for testing. This move aimed to gather crucial forensic evidence that could potentially link Ibrahim to the crime scene and aid in establishing his involvement in Aniah's disappearance. On November 22nd, a significant development unfolded in the investigation as law enforcement made another arrest. Antoine Fisher, known by the nickname Squirmy, was apprehended and charged with first-degree kidnapping. As a close associate of Ibrahim, it was alleged that Antoine played a role in disposing of evidence and provided transportation for Ibrahim. On November 25th, a grim discovery was made in the remote woods of Macon County. Investigators unearthed human remains, including a skull that bore a disturbing bullet hole.
We're out here today, continuing the efforts from yesterday, doing extensive searching in the area. At this point, there has been no positive determination of the identity of the human remains. We expect that to be within the next few days. Efforts will continue to do the same. We have over 100 people that have been here today working this area, being very thorough, slow, and methodical to make sure that we do everything possible to ensure that all the physical evidence is recovered from this location. So these efforts will continue for another day or so until we have everything that we need to positively identify the human remains that were found.
On November 27th, the heart-wrenching truth was confirmed. The remains discovered in Macon County belonged to Aniah Blanchard.
The remains were believed initially to be that of Aniah Blanchard, who was reported missing on October the 24th. It is with heavy heart that we so confirm today that the remains are, in fact, of Aniah Blanchard. We just received that confirmation. At this point, the case obviously will move forward as a homicide investigation at this point. And as you would expect, additional charges would be forthcoming.
The charges against Ibrahim were then upgraded from first-degree kidnapping to capital murder. He currently faces 2 counts of capital murder, one for committing a murder in a car through the use of a deadly weapon while the victim is in a vehicle, and the other for committing a murder during a kidnapping in the first degree. The district attorney is seeking the death penalty.
There was an autopsy done, and the medical examiner ruled that Aniah Blanchard was killed in a manner of homicide. Cause of death was a gunshot wound. As a result of the determination by the medical examiner's office, we are now upgrading the charges from kidnapping in the first degree to capital murder. And in this case, capital murder is the intentional murder during a kidnapping. And we will also be seeking the death penalty against Mr. Yazid.
A few days later, Ibrahim made an appearance in court to face formal charges. To the surprise of many, he questioned the judge about why he was being charged when there was no audio or video evidence of him shooting anyone.
The capital murder charge that is involved with a death occurring during a kidnapping, the probable cause for that has been amended to state what is on the warrant. Each of them satisfy probable cause to charge you with the crime. The second capital murder charge involves the shooting with a firearm inside a vehicle, and that itself can constitute capital murder, as I'm sure your lawyer has told you.
But they don't have no video, no audio of me shooting anyone. That's why I'm trying to see how y'all gonna bind me over on hearsay, but y'all ain't presenting no evidence. And then now there's a whole different statement. There's a whole different convenience store you saying. So why the kidnapping and all that did not get dismissed?
I'm not a law enforcement officer, and I'm not going to argue their case for you. What's on the probable cause warrant does satisfy the issuance of the warrant, and I have done that. And these conversations would be better had with your lawyer.
On December 17th, the charges against Antoine Fisher were dismissed. District Attorney Brandon Hughes stated that it was determined that Mr. Fisher's conduct did not rise to the level of accomplice liability as was originally charged and as is required under Alabama law. Antoine also cooperated with law enforcement, which worked in his favor. According to Antoine, shortly after Aniah went missing, Ibrahim had driven to Montgomery in a car that looked like Aniah's car. Antoine revealed that he assisted Ibrahim by transporting him to a location, but wasn't aware at first of what was going on. Once he stopped and Ibrahim got out, he saw Ibrahim dragging what appeared to be a human body, wrapped in a comforter, out into the woods. Ibrahim spent some time in the woods before returning to the vehicle. Antoine said he then confronted Ibrahim and asked him if it was a body, to which Ibrahim allegedly replied, "It won't come back on you and your family." On November 4, 2022, more than 3 years after Aniah's murder, the case went before a grand jury. Ibrahim was indicted on 3 counts of capital murder, 1 count of capital murder during a robbery, 1 count of capital murder during a kidnapping, and 1 count of capital murder involving a victim in a vehicle. On March 6, 2023, Ibrahim pleaded not guilty to all 3 charges against him. He's currently still in jail awaiting trial. Aniah's family advocated for Aniah's law after she was murdered. This came about late in 2019, shortly after the family learned that the man charged with Aniah's kidnapping and murder was out on bond for previous violent crimes. The law aims to make it more challenging for individuals charged with violent crimes to be granted bail.
I'm joined today with Ms. Angela Harris, Aniah Blanchard's mother, and what we're trying to do is reform our state's bond procedures. And our constitutional amendment, what it would do is, if someone's charged with a violent Class A felony under Chapter 6, Section 13 of the Alabama Criminal Code, the district attorney could request an evidentiary hearing and present evidence of why an individual should be held without bond if they're an imminent threat to the community, themselves, or a flight risk. And they present this evidence to the judge. The judge has the opportunity to grant the request and deny bond, or grant bond, or even deny the hearing itself. But what this does, it gives district attorneys another tool to hold individuals that are predators, that prevent them from getting back on our streets and harming our citizens, but also allows judges to hold dangerous individuals in jail awaiting trial. Currently, under Alabama law, the only time that you can hold someone without bond is if they're charged with capital murder. And so this would broaden that and hopefully prevent tragedies like the one that recently occurred with Ms. Harris's daughter, Aniah.
On November 8, 2021, Alabama voters gave their approval, endorsing what is now officially recognized as Aniah's law through an amendment to the Alabama Constitution. Angela Harris believes that if a similar law was in place when Aniah was alive, she wouldn't have been murdered. Despite her grief, she remains hopeful that Aniah's law will help prevent others from losing a loved one as a result of violent crime offenders. Angela Harris's life has been irrevocably altered by the senseless act that claimed her precious daughter's life. Her fervent hope is that other young women and men become increasingly vigilant of the dangers that exist and take greater precautions to ensure their safety.
This is something that I always told Aniah her whole life, y'all. Just don't ever go anywhere alone. Don't go anywhere, by yourself, not even to get gas, not to do this, not to do that. And Aniah knew that. Sometimes you can't, there's evil out there. And I want y'all to know I love y'all, everybody here. And Aniah loves everybody here. And I do not want to see this happen. Aniah was only going to the store to buy a bag of potato chips. And if you know Aniah, you know how much she loved to eat. And that's all she was doing. And she ran into some evil. Y'all, please, what Sheila said, you have to listen to me, what I'm telling you. At this day and time that we're living in right now, you cannot do this. Girls, even boys, listen. You have got to pay attention. Do not be lax when you're getting out of your car and you're going in anywhere. When you're in your car, you pay attention to your surroundings, because that is what it's going to take right now in this day that we're living in. You're going to have to do it. And this is coming from Aniah, okay? I have to say this for her to y'all, because she would not want this to happen to anybody else, okay? So just promise me that y'all will do that from tonight. Like she said, your parents are not trying to rule your life. They're not trying to run your life. I did that with Aniah. I gave her a lot of freedom. I trusted her. And you don't have to, you are good people. You're good children. Just because we want to know where you are and what you're doing, that does not mean we don't trust you. We don't trust other people. Okay? So please just do everything you can to be safe. Okay? And take care of yourself, and pay, like Sheila said, pay attention all the time. Okay?
As we reflect on the life of Aniah Haley Blanchard, we are reminded of the profound impact she had on everyone in her life. At just 19 years old, Aniah possessed a remarkable depth of character and an unwavering commitment to her faith in Christ. Her kindness, love, and selflessness touched the lives of everyone she encountered. Her devotion to her family and friends was unparalleled. She was a pillar of strength and support, always there to lend a listening ear or offer a comforting embrace. Her loyalty to her friends was a cherished gift to those fortunate enough to call her their friend. Aniah's bond with her mother Angela stood as a powerful testament to their love and the profound connection they shared. Their relationship transcended that of mere mother and daughter. They were also best friends, sharing laughter, tears, and countless cherished memories. Wise beyond her years, Aniah's wisdom and impactful words left a lasting impression on the many people in her life who she offered advice to. She was a beacon of light in a world sometimes darkened by uncertainty, offering hope, guidance, and love to those in need. May we honor Aniah's legacy by living lives filled with faith, love, kindness, and compassion, just as she did. Aniah will certainly be missed by all her loved ones, but her light will continue to shine brightly in their hearts forever. We would like to send our deepest and most heartfelt condolences to all Aniah's family and friends. May God comfort and strengthen all of you, and may Aniah rest in eternal peace.